Hi, everyone. So today we're going to focus on the data publication. So if you already go through the process of collecting your data, then you'll start thinking about how you're going to publish your data set. For SBC, we have our own rules, but I'm going to share with you guys other methods too. So first question we ask, like, why bother? Why do we need to publish all these data sets? And funny enough that I and a few of the information manager from the other LTR side, we compare our notes. It's like, okay, why do we want to publish? And then we come out all these rules the same, exactly the same. So the first one is because LTR is funded by NSF, and NSF has a consistent rule that all the data set need to publish within 2 years of your collection. There's no exceptions. So if they find out that you didn't publish for anything, the grant may not get continued. So this for like LTR, like SBC is a project that every 6 years, we review the proposal. So we don't want people to see, oh, you didn't publish the data from the last 6 years, then we don't continue your proposal for the next 6 years. So just to meet that requirement every 2 years, within the 2 years of timeline, you need to publish your data set. The other one, journal requirement. So far, over the past 4 years, more and more journals I recognize they ask for data. You have to publish your data, and it has the DOI to cite in your paper. So journal requirement have been a big push for everybody right now thinking about data publication. The third one, enable new science. So you have to allow people to download your data set and to combine with the data set from other maybe ecosystem to do some cross-science research. So then they don't have to go ask you, send your email, say, hey, can you send me your data for every paper they read? So this is an easy way. They can just like download themselves. Preserve the data and reproduce the research. So that one is when you publish your data set, like for example, the paper I published during my PhD, I actually already forget all the details that what I did. And then so when people ask me about data, I had to go back to the data I published to read about the details, to tell them what's going on for each columns and how they, why some values looks like that. So it's a good preservation, data preservation and research reproduction. And the last one is you put all the paper on your CV. You should credit the data you collect too. So for some of the graduate students may not publish paper, but at least you have a published data set on your CV. So it's one of your contribution to the science. So those are the main points. And this is the, I call it cartoon figure for the information content decay. So right now you are here. You are here on the y-axis, you know every single bit of your data. And over time, you might know nothing about it. By the time I dead, of course, no one else know my data. If I never publish it, no one else would know the data, no one else would know any other data. So during this process, right now you are here. So it's a great time to document everything about what you did. Document everything about any exception, any outlier in your data set. So when people ask you 10 years later, you know exactly what's happening. So right now you are in this stage of knowing everything. But over time, maybe when you get to graduate, when you graduate in about 3 or 4 years, you may be somewhere in here. You know some general information for the first year data you collect, but you may lose a sense of maybe there's some differences because the different diver handle that thing at that particular time. And so you may forget about it. So you want to document all those details. Oh no. And if there's any accident happen, we may not have any information at all. For example, my case was, my case was when my laptop got stolen. and I have about a code for running data analysis. That's about like 4,000 lines of code. And then because people already published, but I didn't publish that specific code. And so I lost everything. And I don't have time and energy again to go back to run the data analysis again with that 4,000 line of code. So I lost it. It's probably like 2 months of work. So you need to back out your code, back out your data, and everything need to go into some sort of public repository that people can download it to know what's going on. So that's it when accident happens. Everything after that, we have a graduate student. Right now, when they were on the graduate study, they know everything about the data. But soon after they graduate, they move on to a different career. They may be going to a company, or they may be going to work for the government, and then they forget everything about publishing the data set, and then just take the data set in their laptop and just gone forever. So SBC will not able to get the data back anymore. And then also no one will know anything about that data. So that's why we push it to the point that please publish your data set, and in a way that you expect 50 years from now, no one need to ask you any question about that data. So that's the ultimate goal, is you want to publish a data set that have a metadata clear enough that they don't have to ask you additional questions. So that's the goal, and that's what we're trying to do. So for SBC data publication procedure, this is a quick flow chart, but I'm gonna do more demonstrations later. First, you'll have data tables ready. For Jordan's case, you want to have your images in NetCDF format in some way. And then we will document the metadata. I will show you exactly how you download the table and how you do it. And then this is my step, is I'm going to help you push the data on the Environmental Data Initiative, which is the repository founded by NSF. And right now it's like a golden standard place for all the LTR data to go to. And then also additional step is the data you publish, I will push onto the SBC website. And so everybody can go there, search your data and download it. So we're talking about data table. Here's some specifics about what I check about the data table when you send them to me. So I mainly focus on the CSV or text format. And those are the main format, the tabular data that students like to send it to me. And that's the format also we like to encourage students to do that. NetCDF is a very special formatting for, I would say, for a lot of people. They don't know how to extract the value from the NetCDF format. We can publish that, but typically we don't encourage people to do it in that format, only because it's for general public, it's very difficult for them to handle that data format. But we can certainly publish that one. And so for the if it's a CSV format, for sure it's a comma. And of course, there are other field delimiter. And these two are the ones that we think is the most common and easy for people to understand when they look at your data set. And avoid any special characters in the column. Those are really hard for, like, even published on the Environmental Data Initiative. If you have like a space in the name, it's very challenging for the machine to decipher the column name. And then so they suggest that no any of those special characters in the column name. So make sure that, for example, sometimes we want to put nitrogen and have a parenthesis in the unit and the column name. We don't want that. So we just run nitrogen itself, just that letter without any special character. And also this one, using dots NA -999. This is a SBC standard, -999. But you can use either one of those to in your data to present missing data. I encourage you not to use blank space. I know R can do that. They can just read a blank space to treat it as an A, but in the data science world, we prefer people not use blank space because that also means you may forget to put something in that cell. So that's just a thing. If you know it's NA, you need to put a dot, NA or -99 there. Just pretend that you already assess your data and you know it's that value. And also next one, we prefer long format and wide format. I will show you later why that's the case, because you don't want to document that. You don't want to document your metadata for 100 times if you have 100 species in there. NetCDF file refer to the Landsat Cal biomass data set. The code is the numerical value for that data set 74. We can look into that if we need to. So why we refer to that? Because that data set, I look over it, and then we also have a few people from NASA look over it, and just kind of understand, and within the team that who think it's acceptable for most of the people who use NetCDF file. So we go to that data file and refer to that. There's a lot of metadata inside that data file. So we just need to fill in everything inside a NetCDF file. If any other data type we're to discuss specifically, like Jordan's case, you will have an image. So we will have a CSV, a list of the images and the metadata for the image. So that would be a separate step for it. And data help desk. So where do we document the metadata? We will go to the SBC data help desk to download a metadata Excel workbook, and everything, all the metadata, it's in there. You want to fill it out. So there are 3 components. One is a metadata Excel workbook. I will show you later what exactly in that workbook. And you need to write an abstract about the data set, not the abstract about your research, the data set. You need to write a method about the data collection and how do you collect that data. So those are 3 documents. I will demonstrate it later, what they look like. And after you clean your data, and then you has the metadata form fill out, you have the abstract and method, zip all those, send it to me, and the rest of tasks, it's on me. So what I will do is I will publish your data on the environmental data initiative, and you will receive a link to a data package and the DOI. And that's the time you want to put it in your paper, in your manuscript. So, and then your data will be shown on the SBC data catalog. So now people ask, say, okay, how should I plan my time? When should I do this data publication? Give you a bulk number. It takes about 1 week to 1 month to complete my part of data publication. So that means when you submit to me that zip file with your data and with your metadata form, if it's crystal clear and there's no data error, and then I'll be like, okay, let me work on it. I put all the information in my system and then go into the EDI, go publish it. That's typically for a well-documented metadata data set. It takes about, I would say, 2 or 3 days, because there will be a couple of questions I need to ask you, and you will get back to me. So 1 or 2 emails exchange, and then we publish the data set. And then you need to review all the metadata. So I would say give it about a week. I would say that's a reasonable time if you already have a good documentation. But I also noticed some data. For example, when I check it, I said, no, this data doesn't make sense. Water biomass has a negative value. And it turns out that, oh, the code somewhere in there, it's wrong. So you go back to change your codes and then review all the codes that you did before to generate that data set. And then you get back to me and say, this metadata is not clear because where's the longitude or latitude for every site? And say, oh, I need to go find it. So you may end up you have to go diving next time and then go find the exact long and that if you need to. And so I experienced this about one data set that I worked with the student for about months from the start to the end. So give this timeline. And so when is a good time? You finish your data cleaning, you draft a manuscript, it's sent in for review, the final proofread. Anytime between data cleaning, the end of data cleaning, and when you first send in for review, that's a good time. That's all good time because you have at least a month for the data publication to complete. So all these are good, smiling face. I do have a couple of students send me email right here. So when they receive the email from the journal saying, hey, can you final proofread your article and send it back to us within 48 hours? And then, but we do need to publish your data set. In that moment, there was 2 students who sent me emails saying, hey, Lee, can we publish this data set in 48 hours? Okay, if your metadata is super crystally clear, I don't need to make any changes at all. Everything looks perfectly good. Yes, we can still do that. So technically on the system, it may take me about 2 hours to enter everything, to wait for the data to upload and push everything. So that is like, that's a time I don't prefer it, but we can do it if that happens. So everything in between here and here, prefer this, we can do it, but hopefully we don't all stress out at that moment. And so data package citation, we mentioned this in the first workshop, but I really want to bring this up again. So when I send you guys the data citation and the data DOI, and those are the languages that we should use in the paper. So in the text, typically is at the end of the meta section, after you describe how you collect the data, you typically put in a sentence that data were published in the environmental data initiative repository and with a citation of the data set. And in your reference, make sure to put on the whole citation with, very importantly, the DOI. So this is how we supposed to cite a data package. Make sure we don't cite data catalog. Make sure we don't cite SBC website because there are too many data sets on the data catalog. No one will understand which exactly data set we're going to. Okay, next one. So what about if it's not SBC data? So let's say you work on a project, nothing to do with SBC. For me, I would say I'm happy to help you guys publish your data set. So you can still send it to me. There's no problem. Let's work together, get your data published. But if to the point now you think, I think I can do this myself. And I think that project has like no connection at all anyway with SBC. And I'm already graduating. I'm not an SBC staff anymore. If you think you want to publish data yourself, those are the ways that you typically go to. First, you can get on the same repository as we did. And there's a tool called Easy EML. And this is a tool that instead you fill out the metadata and the Excel workbook that I provide, you fill out almost exactly the same thing on that Easy EML tool on the website. And you can generate a DOI for that data package. So that completely go around my step. But if it's SBC data, I strongly not encourage that. Why? Because when I process SBC data, there's necessary project information that embedded with every single SBC data set to keep our data set in line. So when the NSF asks, like, how many data sets do you guys publish? I can pull it out because every data set has our project information in it. So for SBC data set, for sure, we'll go through my route. But if it's not SBC data, do all this, whatever you guys prefer. And the next one is Fixture. And Fixture, I would say it's a data repository. They can also produce your DOI, which the most journals need. The only thing they need is like the DOI. And so you can do that. And actually pretty easy. You just register it and then dump your data in there, it's fine. the GitHub, if you use GitHub for your code and you want to publish a snapshot of your GitHub repository, you can connect with this Zenodo. And this one, they can link to your GitHub account and then publish a snapshot of your code, which by the time you publish this, probably it's already your final version of the code. You can, and then you receive a DOI from that for your code. You can publish this in your paper also. Reference this in your paper. Dry it's one that a lot of journals recommend. So because environmental data initiative require a lot more metadata because they want people to get to the point that people a user who download the data can view metadata and then it's like, I know everything. But Dry is a database that don't require that many metadata. So it's only like title, a name of the entity, the creator, and that's pretty much the most important information they need. And so the people who go to the Dry they may not interested in putting a lot of metadata information with that data table in there. So the user who want to use the data will still have so many question marks in their heads, like, what does this actually mean? And how did they actually collect this part of the data? So it's a database that recommended by the journal because they want to publish data set and then have a DOI. But it's not recommended from the information manager standard, say that way. And the last one is the database managed by your founders. So I guess probably most of your data coming from, most of the data collection work is supported by some founders. And some founder has very specific database they want to push your data in. So you have to read the proposal about where your data can go. So that's a different part. Okay, so I have an example data, and I want to show you a very quick process that where we can put the metadata together for the data set. Okay, let's see. I happen to need to publish this data set, and so we get on the SBC website, and under the data, there's a thing called Data Help Desk, and there's a section called Data Set Publication. And here's the SBC data publication template. So this is a folder that you can download, and there's a whole bunch of examples, not a whole bunch. There's one example in there, and here's what you see. Say after you download it, I already download on my desktop, and I open it. There are actually 3 items. It's abstract, metadata entry, LTR, Excel workbook, and methods. So I throw in this data that I'm about to publish, called the annual MPP from summer biomass. So that's just another new data set I was about to publish. So I put it here. This is a CSV that I made a few months ago. It's a data CSV. So what we need to do is open this one, start from the beginning, data set. So we need to make a name for the data set. So this particular data set, everything you see here, we only need to fill out the yellow highlighted column. And then there's a few green highlighted column that we don't need to fill in here, but it's additional document we need to provide. So for this case, like for example, I want to name this new data set I'm about to publish as summer biomass, summer MPP for understood. Okay, you can have a better name. Investigator, right now, put my name on it. And collection names, it should be one of the collection in the SBC, OTR, and PP. I know that only because I'm familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, you don't even have to put in this part. So you can leave it blank. General means you can fill in everything you could and then leave the blank if you feel like you're not confident about filling in. So data set entity. So we got an entity name. It is one file for that data set. The other data set tend to have 2 files, 3 or 4. Sometimes some of the published data package is they have 2 or 3 different items. Like you may have a 3 CSV, you may have 4 CSV, and then you have a code or R script that go with the whole analysis for your paper. You can all put them together. So entity name will be your first CSV, and then you have a 3 or 4, and then you add an R script in there. So this is what you can do. So your package will be the CSV and code all go together in one package, and you only have 1 citations in your paper. So that is, I can put in summary MPP for MPP name, and this needs to have some sort of description. I can describe is something like summer MPP for the understory between 2000 and 2003. So to make it more describable. Or even say net primary production. I'm gonna make some fake ones here. And I delete the other one because for this particular data set, I only have 1. So scroll, and then the name. We need to copy the name over. Okay. And this is done. And next one, attribute. This is actually the hard one. So this one asks you the column definition, because when we have a CSV, typically the column is very simple names, like nitrogen probably N, phosphorus probably P, and then but what's the unit? What's the information in that column? We don't know. So this is a good place to explain everything in your CSV file. So if we open this one, we only got a few columns. So I typically copy and paste under the column name. Let's see, transpose. So those are the exact column names. So I don't make a mistake of the column order or something. And so I can delete the rest of it because I know I don't need it. Okay, attribute label, you can put on exactly the same. Some of people like a better attribute label because, for example, kelp, you can put a better one. Instead of say kelp biomass or kelp MPP. Instead of understory, you can put understory MPP. A little bit more descriptive, but what's in here? Longer description of that data set. So first copy it here. And then so typically it's like, okay, year in the format, typically in the format of year. Some people like to use 2 digits. So this is the place you can tell in more detail that how you want to format your data. And site is actually site code for Santa Barbara channel area. So you can get in more description. And also Cal MPP, this can be say, you can put in a unit and the unit of like gram per square meter. And you can put in like dry MPP, not the wet one, it's the dry one. So this is 3 different columns. So skipping, this need to be exactly match your column name, exactly match. This slightly makes sense. This is a full description for your column information. Sometimes you can even put in the methods and the description to tell people how you calculate that. Sometimes, for example, ratio, you say the ratio in here, and then you need to tell people is ratio from between this and this variable. So we can get more description. And then those are the yellow columns we need to fill in. And this one change is the format of the year. So changes to there and unit. Okay, so for this case, only thing has units is those last 3 columns. So I go in here it should be grams per square meter. Gram per square meter for on the story 2. And the richness is actually just the number. It's the number of species. There's not really a unit on there. And the precision is typical, those are the 0.01. But for the richness is 1. So everything else, you can leave it to me. I can fill in the rest of the information. This is like, for me, it's the hardest table because I will not able to make any guess about that table. So I will accept anything you put it in this table. And if I feel like, I don't understand, what did you say there? I'm gonna send you an email saying, can you explain this a little bit? And so that will inquire some back and forth in the email at this step. And data set keywords. So those are the keywords that you want to put in. You can choose some of this, or you can put in new keywords. Sometimes they match the paper keyword that you send it to journal. Data set personnel. So who is the author for the data set? It's different from the author for the paper because you made the only one on this data package. You made the only author, but your author for the paper can be 5 or 6 of them, including your advisor. So this, you can decide who is the author for the data set. Typically are the people that will help you collect the data, or sometimes including the people who give you the idea of how to collect the data. Data set site. This is a place that if you have a different site code and you have different site description and you have a different latitude and longitude, that's a place I will need the full information. But if it's SBC long-term project site, you don't have to put in latitude and longitude because I know exactly where they are. So you can just put in the site code using the SBC site code, then I will know. So then you don't have to do the latitude and longitude. The site temporal coverage, the start and end date of your data collection. It's okay, it can be 1 day, just 1 day. You collect everything in that 1 day. Data set methods, it's 2 documents, but typically you just send me 1 document like the method. I think it's good enough. Some very sophisticated long-term project require protocol. So this protocol need to follow some special guidance from the founder or something. So not all the project has protocol, but method for sure. You're gonna have a method section. Describe how you collect the data, how you calculate the column, if there's any, and just document everything so people don't have to send an email saying, how did you do this? Okay, so that's everything about metadata for the data set. For the NetCDF file or for any of the image file, you fill out everything except the attribute because NetCDF file don't have a columns. So you don't fill out column information. NetCDF file or images don't have a column either. So the only thing that's column is the CSV and text file. So that's the only exception. But all the other tables, tabs, we need to fill out for all the data type. Okay, so this one is the metadata. And now we need to we need to write the abstract. Again, it's an abstract for the data, not the paper. So it's an abstract typically is like, if you know that your paper already published or getting close to publish, hopefully not wait until the data publish, not wait until not the paper published before you do this. So abstract, this is what it said. It's like this data set describe blah, blah, blah during the summer of this specific time. And there's 2 tables in there. One table is this and the other table is another one. And if you have a paper or manuscript associated with this particular data set, you can add another paragraph as this is the manuscript that associated with data set. You can just spell it out. And manuscript, it doesn't have to have a full citation because that moment you don't have a manuscript published yet. So you can just say the author name and the title. Most of the time, those stay relatively consistent. but we don't know which journal you're gonna go to. So you can just say author name and title of the data of the manuscript that you're going to publish. This is abstract, and then the method. So this one has a method, but even simpler. For example, this is a process that if you're gonna write a very sophisticated and provide sufficient information in the method, this section of method typically would go into your manuscript in a later stage. Or on the other side is, if you have a manuscript already written, and then you are just sending for review, you can use exactly the method section in your paper, just copy them over, and this will be how you collect the data. There should be just the same. And so you can even have just some summary in here, and then have a paragraph saying, refer to the method section and this manuscript for detail. That's just an easy way to do that. Okay, so once you have the data in the package with abstract, Excel workbook, methods, you zip it up, send it to me, and I will do the rest of it. So pretty much your part is temporary finish by then, until I have some information that I need to ask you, like what, how do you think about editing this abstract to add some information in there or something? So by the time you send me this, your work's almost getting close to be done. And so that's an example data set that that we just fly through it. a quick example. But I think I give you guys some idea of how you can work on these details. So the next one I was thinking to talk about is very quick. One slide about what I do with your data. So I just want to show you some information system within the SBC is how my routine work over time. So here's a quick flow chart. Is I give you the data table. The data table you send it to me. I put it on a server, and you fill the metadata. I put them in the database, which is powered by Postgres. This is a SQL language database that we use on the server, the other thing on the server. And so we have data table, we have a metadata on the server, and I want to even show you what they look like. So these are all the tables that I store on the server that are hosting all the information that you guys send to me about the metadata, about the data. And so in this database, it has the similar information that you guys fill out, like for example, data set, and it has like data set names. I think you need to, maybe you need to close and reopen it. All right, just show you guys here is this database has a metadata, has data table, and has personnel table and bibliography, which means when you publish a data set, or when you publish the paper, your paper record will go into my system. And this whole system hosting all those information together. That also means at one point, if you find something that didn't show up right on the website, you know that some information on my system, it's not right. So you will send me an email and say, hey, Lee, this one, the paper doesn't look right. Can you correct the names or something? Because I have all this, including these are the metadata from all the information you send it to me is in this table, and this group of table, including the people table, which is the personnel and the SBC. And we also have, this is what I call it LTR database. And we also have this website data catalog. It's like, okay, we have all those data tables. And which group do they belong to? They belong to the habitat, different habitat, they belong to different measurement. So let's take a look at the website here. So if you go into the data catalog, So they have different tag on each of the data set. So this is the data table that assign different tag to them. And so those are the, pretty much my system is all host and the Postgres database. Let's see, next one. And so periodically, when there are 2 or 3 data sets published, and then I need to push them on the website, I generally will have 3 R codes to go into the database to read all these values that are stored in the database, and then export a YAML file, 3 YAML files, data catalog, people, and publication, and push all these YAML files on the website. So that means if you find out your name didn't spell correctly, and put on the website, under the people table, that means it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be not right when I publish your data set. So you want to definitely correct that. Or if you see the data set I publish, you say, hey, Lee, I have a middle name. Can we add this? And so I will have to add an N in my system. And so they will show on the people table correct also. So it's all those information are all stored in the database, and everything after that is just different way to extract it. So those are the SBC data system is how I handle all the data sets you guys sent.
Is the Postgres server, is it used internationally, or is it preferred for certain fields, or?
It's used internationally. In fact, it's a very good database as a backend for all the website. So when you go on the website, sometimes they have a data you can download, and you can select, okay, I want to download data from this year to this year, only the last 3 years instead of the whole time range. They use this kind of database to host all those data. And so you can choose to download whatever the specific time span you want. So it's like, the main functions serve as a backend for the website. But we also use to store all the information because it has a lot of control that I can program in. For example, if I put in OKID, and then when I put in the second time OKID, it will tell me, no, this is not allowed because this person already in there with 500 historical SBC personnel. I may not even notice until the program tells me, no, you can't do this. Or the other thing is like, if this is daytime format, it will ask you what's exactly format. Is it year dash month day, or is it month slash day year? So it asks you exactly that. If you don't have that, it's incomplete. It will top out an error message to say information is not complete. So because it allowed me to add in a lot of control in the database. So I'm more confident everything in the database should be logistically correct. Yeah. So SBC got a pretty good database hosting all the information we have and everything you see on the website. So we can see that, for example, on the website under the people table. See, if you go in and click anybody's information and you read anything about this, if anything wrong in that group of text, it's something wrong in my database. So I need to go into my database to fix it. And then so it will show out here correct. So everything is hosted in the database. And then we extract it periodically using our code and create a YAML file. And so the website can read the YAML file displayed on the website. So that's pretty much the whole data publication workflow within the SBC. And you guys can always send me an email. For example, I have a student I like to work on, and it's like he's like, okay, we're gonna go collect this kind of data set, and how should I do it? I said, okay, if you need to collect the data set, you need to do A, B, and C, which will be the similar things I offer in the first workshop, and how you organize your data sheet, how you organize your project. And say, okay, by the time you say, okay, I have a high frequency rated data, I got it online, but the journal asked me that I need to publish that data set. What should I do? I said, okay, if journal asks you to get a DOI, then you have to download all those high frequency rated data and send it to me, and then create this metadata file, then I can help you publish it. So even the data set you download online without a DOI, we can still publish it here with a DOI, so you can publish to the journal. So any question, you can always send it to me about the data publication during the process. And hopefully that's an easy step for you guys to publish the data. Okay, I think that's all I have to offer today. It's almost lunchtime. So if you have a data ready to publish, I'm happy to work with you. Otherwise, send me email anytime.